forced to do a story on the Odyssey. So
You were not forced.
I didn't have pretty much a choice.
You had a total choice, but when you don't make a choice,
Okay,
I
I
make it
say
for you.
after so long procrastinating, I was forced.
Okay, let's be clear.
So I did the Odyssey, but I was supposed to focus on book 1, which is pretty much the beginning, and just some general information about the whole thing. It's broken up into 24 different books, one of 2 major epic Greek poems attributed by Homer, and the second oldest work since the Iliad, which was the first based on Western literature. The story was written in dactylic hexameter, known as heroic hexameter, and this is the type of rhythm in poetry writing. And it was composed during the 8th century, between 900 and 700 BCE in Ionia, on the coastal region of Anatolia. Pretty much overview of the whole thing. The story talks about a man named Odysseus, who's pretty much the main character, who along his life suffers many frustrations and hard times. He was a Greek survivor out of the Trojan War, and held captive on the island of Odyssey with a woman named Calypso, and she falls in love with him and doesn't want him to leave. So Odysseus is mainly concerned about his reputation and seeks revenge on those home, basically while he's away. The men back at home are trying to court his wife in pursuit of possibly becoming the next king. And a little bit more info about the whole thing. Only a short time before the time in Homer, the alphabet had been introduced to Greece from Phoenicia. Homer's epics are the first major literary works of Greece and in Europe. And the stories of the Trojan War were transmitted orally for a long time before Homer composed his epics, and the contents of the story were well known. Like I said, basically, the first book talks about how Odysseus was off at war during the Trojan War, so he was gone for like 10 years. And the first story really focuses on his wife being at home and her basically, she thinking he dead, and she's fooling around and flirting with everybody back at home. So now, since she thinks he's dead, she's trying to prepare a funeral for him while he's gone. And you know, her son is at this time 16 after 10 years, and basically she's telling all these men she gonna find her a husband after a while so she can name him king and everything. But the son pretty much couldn't do anything but sit back and watch his mother go through all this and everything. But during Odysseus' journey, while he was on his way home, that's when his ship got crashed. His crew died and he survived, and basically he got stuck on the island with Calypso. And to better help tie everything together, I shot a short video.
The Odyssey is about Odysseus' journey home after the Trojan War. Odysseus is a Greek. He's the king of Ithaca, and before the start of the poem, he and the other Greeks laid siege to the city of Troy, located in what's now northwestern Turkey. The war lasted for 10 years. After the Greeks defeated the Trojans, Odysseus and his men got back in their ships and started their trip home to Ithaca, a rocky little island off the Greek mainland, where Odysseus' wife and son are waiting for him. Along the way, they run into several dangerous obstacles, and all of Odysseus' men die. Odysseus survives because of his intelligence and cunning, the qualities he's renowned for, and he eventually makes it home, but the journey takes him 10 years. The story breaks roughly into 3 parts. The first part doesn't really even involve Odysseus. It's more about what's going on in Ithaca with his wife and son while he's gone. In the second part, we learn what happened to Odysseus in the 8 years since he left Troy. And in the final part, we finally see Odysseus return home. The poem opens with 2 gods, Zeus and Athena, discussing Odysseus' fate. Odysseus is stuck on an island in the middle of the sea, in the house of a nymph named Calypso. Calypso won't let Odysseus leave, but even if he could leave, the god Poseidon keeps sending Odysseus off course as he tries to make it home. Poseidon is mad at Odysseus, because Odysseus blinded his son, the Cyclops Polyphemus. Athena says if Zeus and all the other gods agree Odysseus should be allowed to leave, then Poseidon can't really argue, since he's outnumbered. They should dispatch Hermes to tell Calypso to let Odysseus go, and in the meantime, she'll go visit Odysseus' son, Telemachus. Disguised as a man, Athena goes to Odysseus' home in Ithaca. Telemachus thinks she's just a stranger at first, and invites her in for some food and wine, though he figures out after a little while that the stranger is really Athena. He laments that he'll never see his father, and complains about all the nobles from nearby islands who are courting his mother, since everyone assumes Odysseus is dead. His mother, Penelope, doesn't want to marry someone else, but she doesn't want to tell her suitors to leave either, so they just hang around Odysseus' house all day and eat all the food. Athena prophesies that Odysseus will soon return, and she counsels Telemachus to round up all the suitors in the morning and order them to leave. Then he should get a ship ready, and visit King Nestor in Pylos and King Menelaus in Sparta. If he hears from one of them that Odysseus is alive, he should wait another year for Odysseus to return. But if he learns Odysseus is dead, he should make a grave for him and give his mother to one of the suitors. Telemachus calls an assembly like Athena suggested. He gets up and says that not only has he lost his father, but now these suitors are eating all his family's food and drinking all the wine. One of the suitors, Antinous, says Telemachus has no right to be upset. It's Penelope who's to blame. She's been leading the suitors on for almost 4 years, saying she'll choose one to marry as soon as she finishes weaving a burial shroud for Odysseus' father, Laertes. She weaves the shroud each day, but at night she unravels her work, and the suitors found out. Telemachus says he'll never force his mother to choose a husband and leave their house. He announces his plans to see what news he can find of Odysseus in Sparta and Pylos. Athena helps him get a ship and crew together, and she disguises herself as an old friend of Odysseus's, named Mentor. When they arrive at Pylos, they meet King Nestor, who fought at Troy with Odysseus. Nestor says he hasn't seen or heard from Odysseus since just after they left Troy. He agrees to help Telemachus get to Sparta to talk to Menelaus. Telemachus takes a chariot and goes with Nestor's son, Pisistratus, to Sparta. In Sparta, a big wedding feast is underway as they arrive, and they join Menelaus for some food and wine. As they talk, Menelaus' wife, Helen, recognizes Telemachus as Odysseus' son. She tells the story of how, during the Trojan War, Odysseus dressed up as a beggar and snuck into Troy to gather information to take back to the Greeks. She orders the servants to prepare beds for Telemachus and Pisistratus. The next morning, Menelaus tells Telemachus that the last news he heard of Odysseus he got while stranded on a small island off the coast of Egypt. When he left Troy, he didn't make the appropriate sacrifices to the gods, so the gods marooned him on a little island called Pharos. He and his men were running out of food when Menelaus met a goddess named Idothea, the daughter of Proteus. She told him if he could pin and hold Proteus, Proteus would answer any question he had. With Idothea's help, Menelaus and his men snuck up on Proteus. As soon as he fell asleep, Menelaus jumped on him. Proteus transformed into different things to get out of Menelaus' hold, but Idothea warned he would do this, and Menelaus kept him in a tight squeeze until he tired out. The first question Menelaus asked is what happened to his Greek comrades, and Proteus told him about a few of the Greeks, including Odysseus. He saw a vision of Odysseus on an island, crying in the house of the nymph Calypso. Calypso was keeping him there by force, and he didn't have any ship or any means of getting away. That was the last Menelaus heard of Odysseus. Meanwhile, two of the suitors, Antinous and Eurymachus, come up with a plot to kill Telemachus when he returns. They decide to wait with the ship and ambush him. But Medon, the herald, overhears the scheme and tells Penelope. She prays to Athena to save Telemachus, and Athena hears her. Zeus and Athena compromise and agree that Odysseus can go home, but that he'll have to suffer more along the way. Zeus sends Hermes to give Calypso the news. Calypso finds Odysseus sitting by the shore and crying. He hardly believes at first that he's being allowed to leave, and he makes Calypso promise it's not some scheme to harm him. She swears an oath, and they go back to Calypso's cave, where they make love. For the rest of the story, continue on to part 2 of the Odyssey video spark note. For more information...
That's pretty much my presentation.
All right.